turns out that Brian Johnson, aka the Liver King, is taking a little bit more than just liver extracts and eating raw bovine testicles. His alleged steroid cycle has been released on the internet by Derek over at More Plates, More Dates. Now, there's a lot to unpack here and talk about. And because I have personal experience in my early 20s abusing steroids, I did 2 cycles. I'm going to get to why I did that, the problems associated with taking steroids, and the long-term health consequences of that in a moment. But first, I just want to address the very simple fact as to why this is even a pertinent or relevant news story for those of you that are interested in health, nutrition, carnivore, Paleolithic, ancestral principles. Okay, this is only a news story because Brian Johnson, the Liver King, lied. That's why it's a story. Most people don't really care. If you do steroids, it doesn't matter. It's your health. It's your choice. You doing steroids or growth hormone or stacking steroids, growth hormone, and peptides, as it's alleged that Brian Johnson did, no one cares. It's your body. If you want to harm your health, increase your risk of cardiovascular disease, cerebrovascular disease, liver disease, congestive heart failure, go ahead. You're not harming any other people by doing that. But there's a difference. When you promote health, when you stand for ancestral principles and these tenets and sleep, and you go so far as to not put cell phones in airplane mode in your bedroom because it might compromise your sleep, but then you're taking drugs that are directly hepatotoxic. For example, Winstrol was one of the compounds, as you can see on the screenshot here. It happens to be a C17 alkaloid. It's very hepatotoxic. So on the one hand, Liver King is saying, hey, eat liver. Liver is king. But he's taking a hepatotoxic anabolic steroid, Winstrol. I've actually taken that before. Really hard on the liver, as is Dianabol and Anadrol and other C17 alkaloids. Okay, so it's important that we have integrity. Okay, when you start to lie about what you are doing, and they are conflicting with the messages that you're promoting, you cause doubt. You stain the entire message that you're trying to promote. Okay, now he never directly said, to the best of my knowledge, if you eat raw liver, you're going to look like me, but it was tacitly implied. It was implied that, hey, look, I'm not taking anything. I eat like this. Therefore, if you eat like I do and live the lifestyle that I do, you too can look like me. This was tacitly baked into his messaging. And it caused a lot of people to say, well, of course I want to look like you. You look amazing. Now, his physique is amazing, okay? Even probably off steroids. He has good genetics. His pecs, really nice pecs. He's got the nice deltoids, vascular arms, okay? The guy's a great physique. And not to take anything away from him, to get that physique, you can take all the drugs in the world and it still won't get you there. You have to train. He trained probably harder than 99% of Americans, or 99% of people all throughout the world. He put in the work. And he ate the right foods. And he did leak, other emails leaked what he was also taking, where he lied by omission. I've never heard him promote creatine or talk about creatine. He was taking 10 grams a day of creatine. Creatine is a wonderful, natural, ergogenic aid. It's probably one of the only legal and non-toxic ways to actually build muscle without compromising your long-term health. Although creatine is in foods, but taking it supplementally is going to get you a higher dose, and so it can be helpful. So I'm a huge fan of that. But here's the point. It's a story only because he lied. Now, many other actors and many other athletes in the public sphere have also lied. And I think the scary sort of slippery slope here is when you start taking PEDs and you lie, you lose trust. That's the problem. Lance Armstrong did the same thing. He was vehemently against, he said, I would never dope. I could never do that. He lied. And then, of course, he was organizing a whole EPO blood transfusion ring and was taking all sorts of drugs, and which, by the way, because like I said, I have experience making steroids and using them. I did 2 cycles in college. Just by looking at his calf muscle when he was racing in the Tour de France in 2005, I told my dad when we were watching the Tour de France in July, I said, Dad, there's no way Lance is natural. He's like, no, he's the most tested athlete in the world. I said, I don't care. You can look at his calf muscle. Google image Lance Armstrong calves. There's no way that he's not on anabolics, okay? Now, this is sort of an artistic way to look at this in the sense, but when you take anabolics, and especially when you pair them with growth hormone, the quality of the muscle changes. And some people anecdotally refer to this as roid muscle. And so it's very easy to spot. And so there was no question in my mind whatsoever, because I have experience in this, that the Liver King was on anabolics. We did a video last February where we talked about this because a lot of people were saying, defending him, saying, well, he lives a healthy life, so he could probably, no, he's on gear, guys. And to me, the dosages that he used, I was actually quite surprised. You know, he's running about 175 milligrams of tescipionate per week. He's doing a lot of growth hormone, and he's also doing DECA as well as Winstrol and some peptides that I have. I don't know anything about peptides, although I have seen people, their blood work when they take SARMs, and it's a complete shit show. So definitely don't recommend going down the peptide SARMs route because I've seen some gnarly changes on blood work that you don't even want to know about. Okay, so that's the important thing. You can't lie, especially if you're in the public sphere. If you're promoting health and wellness and you're promoting liver and enhancing liver health, but you're taking a hepatotoxic steroid, that is logically inconsistent. That is the conflicting messaging. And especially if you're tacitly implying to young men, you can look like me if you live this lifestyle, but you're lacking integrity because you're doing something behind the scenes that you're not being transparent about. Now, if he was transparent and at least just said, hey, I'm on TRT, that would be a totally different conversation, but he's on more than TRT. And so what are the problems here? Well, when you take supraphysiologic levels of anabolics, including testosterone, but decadurabolin, there's tren, there's masteron, there's dianabol, as I mentioned, Winstrol, what happens? It increases your blood viscosity. Your blood thickness can actually create and reduce the ejection fraction in your heart and create cardiomyopathy, enlargement of the heart. It can lead to cardiovascular disease, occlusion of the coronary arteries and other systemic arteries. And this is why bodybuilders and anabolic steroid users tend to die prematurely from heart disease-related challenges. There's also kidney failure and kidney disease-related issues because, of course, the kidneys are essentially a bunch of microvessels, and they become compromised because of elevated blood pressure. And then you get cerebrovascular disease, early onset dementia. There's a lot of problems with this, okay? Now, that's at supraphysiologic levels. I have no problem. I received a lot of comments about this because I shared something on Instagram the other day where if people are doing everything right, I'm talking training hard, eating enough protein, eating sufficient calories, getting sleep, having real food, and their testosterone levels are low, I first, before getting on HRT, and I'm not on HRT, by the way, although my testosterone levels are in the midline of the range, and when I use the Juve-Lite and do everything right, I can get my levels up into the 80th percentile and so forth. I also supplement with DHEA. So this is an over-the-counter product. It's legal here in the US. It's not legal, unfortunately, in Australia and Canada. You have to get a prescription, but this is a precursor hormone to testosterone and DHT. And so at taking supporting DHEA, because it's directly, there's DHEA receptors in the brain, and so it does support cognition, mood, blood sugar health. There's a lot of benefits here. I have a whole video about DHEA dropping tomorrow. Incidentally, we recorded it 2 weeks ago. But it's important to understand that if you want to optimize your testosterone levels, even before considering HRT or peptides or these things, you have to fine-tune your DHEA levels. I find a lot of people that are taking HRT, their DHEA is still in the tank, and it's like, well, you may not even need to take HRT if you just optimize DHEA, and it's really affordable. Okay, we're talking $15, $17 a month, and there's so many benefits from sleep enhancement, mood enhancement, and much more. So I'll put links below for that, and you can check out that video a little bit later. But that being said, I have no problem with people optimizing their testosterone levels, their DHEA levels, where if they're in their 40s or older, and they've done all that right. They've balanced DHEA, they're getting the sleep and adequate protein and calories, and their levels are still not coming up. They're detoxing some of the persistent organic pollutants by way of sauna and getting in the hot tub and things like that. Well, if you want to go on HRT, it's no problem, but just understand that when you increase your testosterone levels, especially via exogenous forms by way of testosterone cypionate or propionate or androgel, you're going to increase your blood viscosity. And so that is something you need to be aware of. So your RBC, your red blood cell count, your RDW, your hemoglobin, your hematocrit, your iron, your total iron binding capacity, your ferritin, those are all markers, by the way, that are related and linked to blood viscosity. This is something we're going to talk a lot about in the upcoming live blood work masterclasses. We have one next week in Austin. We have another one in Dallas, Texas. Definitely join us there if you are available and interested in diving into this further, okay? Blood viscosity increases atherosclerosis and arteriosclerosis. And so you need to understand the risks and the trade-offs here. So if you're going to go down that HRT route, you might want to consider donating blood to reduce your blood viscosity. Okay. Women don't really have to worry about this when they're in their reproductive years because they're naturally bloodletting every month when they menstruate, when they're ovulating and so forth. However, postmenopausal women, I think there's a big link here with the dramatic increase in the risk of cardiovascular disease and cerebrovascular disease in women after menopause because they're not bloodletting anymore. And so their blood viscosity does increase. Their iron can increase and they can get thickened blood. And that, of course, can lead to more shear stress on the cardiovascular system, on the microcirculation, on the coronary arteries, and that can cause heart disease, premature death from that as well. So it's important to understand there are risks here. And that, again, is going back to the message. Okay, it's incongruent to promote health and then take substances that deteriorate your health. That's the whole point. No one cares, Brian Johnson. You want to take all the drugs in the world. The Rock takes steroids. It's obvious. Many people that you see on Monday Night Football, many men out there, are on PEDs, right? Some of them are peptides, GH analogs, GnRH analogs, the whole thing, right? This is so common. You watch any popular movie over the years. Arnold Schwarzenegger was on a bunch of drugs, right? I mean, this is common, right? But it's different when you're promoting health and you're lying about it, okay? So this is the thing, friends, in your life. You need to be honest. You need to have integrity. If you don't have integrity, that erodes you on the inside. That bothers you. This is why if you cheat on your partner or a partner cheats on you, it feels terrible. You're like, how could you do that? You looked at me straight in the eyes and said you weren't talking to this person or you didn't have sex or whatever the thing is, and you did it. Okay. That bothers people. We do not let, human beings do not like liars. Human beings naturally do not like people who don't have integrity. That's a problem. Now, you can redeem your lack of integrity by being transparent, by being honest, by talking, by admitting your mistakes. And I think the problem herein is when it comes to social media is maybe he was dabbling in TRT and he started to get some gains, right? More so than you would get when you're natural. And then he's like, oh, I like this. I'm getting more engagement. And then it became a vicious cycle. It's like a gateway drug, so to speak. And then you're like, well, if I could do TRT, then maybe one SARM or one peptide. Well, what if I just do a little bit of GH? Not too much, just a little bit. Well, if a little bit put on more muscle, then just a little bit more. And then it becomes this vicious cycle. Now, the problem with social media and anyone doing any sort of anabolics or PEDs is people don't take time off. I know a lot of people who are running gear year round, and that is a major problem because they're doing, Instagram stories, they're doing YouTube videos, and they need to look jacked, need to look huge. And so when they come off, they start to feel small. Then people might say something in the comments, be like, what's wrong with you? You look small. What's going on? And then it causes people to be on year round. Now, what's different with the bodybuilders historically, they would do big cycles leading up to the Arnold Classic or the Olympia. They would take time off. People aren't doing that anymore. And I strongly feel that's why in the last year and a half, in addition to other things, we've seen a lot of bodybuilders, a lot of people that are in the fitness space have sudden cardiac death. They've died. These people are not taking time off HRT. Okay. Now, my last tip there, as I've kind of shared with you, optimizing DHEA, very important initial first step. I think many people don't even need to consider HRT, many men that is, in their up until after 50, if they optimize DHEA. Okay, this is not DHA, DHEA. This is a natural precursor hormone. All of the estrogens and androgens are derived from DHA ultimately. Okay. Now, further upstream, you have jarnol, you have cholesterol, like way up there. So one could argue that you should, be eating cholesterol high diet, eating jarnol in your diet, supporting that whole, pathway. Okay. That's all important. But, the other thing to consider is if you are to go on HRT, one thing that I recommend for clients that I've worked with, instead of doing one bolus dose a week, spread it out and do subcutaneous injections. So the minimum effective dose, a lot of people just do, I'm doing 250 milligrams a week in their butt, and they get this bolus dose and it converts to estrogen and then they start to feel like crap. Well, it's better to just create even blood levels. So you're not aromatizing that. And this is something that I think doctors are just now starting to recommend. But instead of doing a bolus dose of 200 or 250 milligrams of testosterone every 10 days, you could use a 29 gauge insulin syringe and inject the testosterone subcutaneously, do say 15 to 20 milligrams every other day, something to that effect. So that's going to get you more, blood levels will be a little bit more even, and you're not going to get the big aromatization and then the associated water retention, okay? Which is one thing that I noticed with the Liver King, by the way. You could see in his face, there was a lot of water retention, and it appeared that the beard was sort of masking that water retention. And that is common when people are doing supraphysiologic levels, taking supraphysiologic levels of testosterone and DHT derivatives, because of course that aromatization that I just alluded to. All right. So what do you think about this? Like I said, it's not really a big deal if he was transparent about it. There's a lot of people we've had on our podcast, Mark Bell, Stan Efferding. We've talked to a lot of people who are like, yeah, I take HRT. Big deal, right? Who cares? But when you lie, that's a problem. So friends, the message here is don't lie. Have integrity. People don't like to be around liars. And when you start lying, it leads to more and more lies, and it catches up with you. Okay. We saw that with Lance Armstrong. We saw that with Barry Bonds. We've seen this throughout time in many other scenarios, whether it's dating, whether it's, having an affair, business deals, all of this. Be honest, live with integrity. It's energetically better. It's better for your heart, better for your health. In fact, here's a little fun fact you may not know about this. Is when HIV positive individuals, there were several studies that have found when HIV positive individuals are still in the closet because they're lying to their friends and family that they're gay, they have worse outcomes compared to HIV positive people who are out of the closet. And I'm talking about homosexual men in this context. So think about that. If you're living with a lie, it's weakening your immune system. This is the whole field of psychoneuroimmune endocrinology. So if your brain knows that you're living without integrity and you're lacking congruence and consistency in your life, it literally compromises your immune system that makes you more susceptible to have severe, in this case, HIV, and eventually succumb to AIDS. This is insane stuff, right? So my friends, live with integrity, tell the truth, be honest about what you're doing. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Hit that like button, leave me a comment below if you did, and we'll catch you on a future one down the road. Bye now.